Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach, Pod, Crowy here, Feet Cam.
What's up?
What's up? Talking today about making good decisions and I guess the importance of that in a business sense. One thing I've been preaching a lot lately is you want to make 1, 2, 3 good decisions, but then you want to make 100 in a row or 200 in a row or 300 in a row. You want to consistently be making good or great or excellent decisions. Now, referencing this, it's come from someone who shall remain nameless, who's popped into the platform, and welcome. And then we're going to, bam, we're in a pretty average situation. And I think we've all been there with... if your rates are sort of incorrect or a little bit incorrect, and this is my whole theory on why you would never download a rates calculator for anyone else, because it's like you can have your rate correct. Your rate can be correct, but if you're not getting enough of those rates in, you're fully cooked. If you're sending the wrong staff member to the right client, cooked, right? If you're spending too much time project management or off the tools, or if you're driving around from job to job, from space to space, from place to place, you're cooked. So I think, yes, your rate is an important and integral part of the journey, but essentially, if your months aren't closing properly or your weeks aren't closing properly, then your year's not going to close properly. And then you're going to be up the creek with no paddle, with a pair of pliers instead of a paddle. And you're not going to like that, right? Unless your pliers have some kind of giant paddle welded on the end of them. Hey, what pliers do you use? I put up something about yellow crescents the other day and everyone was dramatically upset.
I've been yellow. I was yellow crescent for a long time. I was talking to Joey about it the other day. I actually just rocking with a set of Hager pliers, which are essentially like a channel lock plier, because I got them from the wholesaler. But they just gave me a set of screwdrivers and pliers for free. So I was like, okay.
But you're also like the worst example ever. You're like you have an example, because when was the last time you physically used your pliers?
I actually used them the other weekend.
Yeah, but properly for a week straight.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't find them.
I'm lucky if I can find them most of the time. I'm like, damn it, where are they?
I got 7 pairs and they're not used for electrical anymore. So I'm not really a great case study, but so my plier realm would have ended around 2015, 2016, whatever. So I'm probably not a great example of, pliers from 10 years ago. These were the bee's knees, baby. Not quite up to date on my tools. Anyway, talking about making good decisions and sort of like if your rate was wrong and the number of hours you put into that job was wrong. If you see it all the times at growth stages of business, you see entrepreneurs wanting to grow, wanting to expand, they either end up taking on a job that's a bit out of their realm, and let's face it, when you're quoting a job that's a little bit out of your realm, you're normally going to make one of 2 mistakes. You're going to go too high because you don't know what you're doing, or you're going to go too low because you don't know what you're doing. Rarely are you going to hit the bullseye, hit the sweet spot, hit the net 20, you might say. So you get it either too high, lose the job, which is not great because you wasted time quoting, or you get it too low, which is much worse, because you probably get the job and then you got to think, so this is start the timer here. This is what I'm talking about. Sitting with a member and we're trying to work their numbers out, but we're still in the fruit of their rates that were wrong 2 years ago. So they quoted a job 2 years ago. They won the job 12 to 18 months ago, whatever. The job's still going. They've exhausted all their progress claims have exhausted. So they're still throwing labor and materials where there is no money left in the quote. So it's actually incredibly interesting to look at from a numbers point of view. because it's like what we're currently doing is working, but we're still paying for something that a decision we made 18 months ago, 24 months ago. So it's like, make no mistake, and this is the best example ever. We came home from a long day, and I remember I've shared this many times. I love this example. And we're like, what are we going to cook for dinner? And it's, when you're late with the kids and they're young, it's like, what are we going to cook for dinner? And Elodie had made spaghetti bolognese a month ago before, frozen it. We got home. She pulls out the freezer and she's like, thank you, past Elodie, for this gift of a spaghetti bolognese. Defrosted it, kids stoked. Everyone went to bed probably seemingly well. And it was a great night that could have ended in disaster, or could have ended in $200 of takeaway pizza that was also fantastic. But hey, let's not go there for now. Let's talk about this. May the future you thank the current you. And is the current you good enough to make decisions under stress, under fatigue, under tiredness, under busyness, under quietness, knowing that is your decision still going to stand the test of time in 2 years? Now, peel the whole onion back. This member would have been better off not doing that job. Let me repeat that. This member would have been better off not doing that job, not dabbling in this. So if you're hustling for work and you're unsure of your pricing, just make sure, like if you get the quote wrong on $1,000 job or $5,000 job or $10,000 job, you might not even notice. You might just roll through because other parts of the business are working. If you get a 100 grand quote wrong or 200 grand or 300 grand, $5 or $1 million quote wrong, you're going to really feel that. If you get it wrong and it's too high, that's fantastic. It's like, you know those jobs when you first study quote and you get it wrong and it's too high? And it's like, oh, that was sick. I made heaps of money off that job. You realize they're not around every corner. And but you're probably not going to land the job if it's too high. So you're probably going to land it if it's too low. So my encouragement is, because it's really interesting, it's like you want to grow the business and you want to consistently put yourself out of your comfort zone. You know, your comfort zone might be 2 PowerPoints, and then it goes to 10 PowerPoints, then it goes to an upstairs extension and a switchboard upgrade with a back extension. Then it goes into some level 2 stuff, or then it goes into a new build or a high-end resi or commercial. More often than not, your journey is one of exponential comfort. So what you used to be uncomfortable with, you're now comfortable with. That's growth in a nutshell. What I used to not be able to lift at the gym, I can now lift at the gym because I've been consistent, I've been learning, I've been watching, and I've been actively pursuing this career, or whatever you want to call it, right? So it's so interesting to sit back and watch, but I just want to, I don't even want to talk about how to make a good decision. I just want to be like, how do you not make bad decisions? You know, what do you think? Where does your head go to in that?
First thing that I think around there is like your capability, or you see individually your personal capability, and then within your team sense. If you do have a team, there's a capability associated with it. Now, I agree with you. There's an element of like you do have to be uncomfortable to get growth, to be then feel comfortable doing things. So you do have to push the boundaries a little bit. But often what you'll find is that the boundary is extreme. So it goes from, hey, content doing up to $10,000-$15,000 job, and then it pushes to $150,000 job, and there's nothing in between. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's wrong. All right. It's just that I think it needs to be recognized that, well, we haven't actually tested this, and does it fit in with our capability realm? Like, so I think if it's broken down and looked at in a sense of like, oh, well, hey, we're comfortable doing these size jobs, it's just that times 10. Like, so it could be just a cookie cutter type exercise where, yeah, the value is higher, but it's actually 10 individual jobs within it. So that makes sense. But I think where the, I guess, let's call it the double whammy kicks into it is when it's a capability sense is going to come into question. And then in turn, the actual size of the job or value of the job comes in as well. And what I mean by that is that, hey, we're sort of probably not great at doing this type of work or had heaps of exposure to it. And I literally threw a dart at a dartboard with the costings associated with it.
It's so interesting because it's like, you know, you think about, this is what I was saying before about your rate being correct and your application, but it's the application of that rate that really matters. Like, you got to think about it logistically. The only thing giving a rate, a context, is how many of those rates are included. So 120 times 1 is 120. 120 times 10 is 1200. If you've quoted 1 and done it in 4, bad. If you've quoted 10, done it in 6, good. So it's like that's going to dramatically shift and adapt your net profit. And it's so interesting because you look at it like if you came in to wire a garage, you look at it and there's 4 downlights, or that you got some sexy slimline fluoro. What's sexy these days?
Oh, I don't know.
Besides crescent lights.
It's subjective.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, I lost track of sexy.
A recessed cobbed downlight is probably quite sexy, or a flush, like flush recessed LED channel or something like that. That look pretty cool.
So good. Maybe you're driving thinking something else is sexy. That's cool.
Yeah.
But sexy is an incredibly subjective word, right? Anyway, so
Tell you what is not sexy? A Clipsal airflow exhaust fan. Just throwing it out there.
I don't even know what that is. So
just the old circular exhaust fan with like the grills.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like your basic 300 mil circular exhaust fan. Not sexy.
But in the context of like a 1-bedroom rundown unit in a town near you,
effective.
Perfect. Does it work? Does it get the smelly poo smell out of the room as well as the mold? Maybe
into the roof.
Into the roof. Ducting, not even ducting optional. Ducting.
There's no option.
Oh no. And those ceilings you turn up to or whatever, and they're asbestos. It's just a nightmare. Well, if that's you, walk away. You got to know when to walk away, and if it's dangerous or you're uncomfortable, you should walk away. And you should encourage your apprentices to do that too, and your team members if they are ever uncomfortable or they're doing a job that they are, a little bit out of their comfort zone, which is, I guess, uncomfortable in a nutshell. Just make sure they can tell you. So you walk into a garage and there's 4 downlights and 3 power points, and the board's there, you can put a new circuit in, you can tap off existing, whatever. Chances are you're going to be able to go, okay, I got to rough this in, cut this out, fit this off. They want a couple of sensor spotlights on the side. I hate sensors, by the way. You won't find me installing any sensors ever. Cannot stand them. At my house, someone else's house, sweet, all good. No warranty on sensors was my big rule because they're so incredibly fragile or temperamental, subjective, whatever you want to call it. And that was a big rule I had. I'll do it, but if it goes wrong, I'll charge you to come back in the nicest way possible. Say it with a smile on your face. So if I say that, maybe let's just say you've cut it to 10 hours. So 10 hours times whatever your rate is, 120, and then you've got your materials with a margin. Chances are the job lands $2,500, $3,000, whatever. Like, I'm not here to argue rates. I'm here to talk about how you got to that. You're probably pretty close to that 8 to 10 to 12 hours, whatever you're going to be pretty close to that. The thing is, when the job goes for 1,000 hours, there's a lot more educated guesswork. You might want to say it's not quite guessing, but it's not quite concrete. So it's like, because you can't be exact on 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours or 3,000 hours. You're going to have to be like, history has told me that this was the case. We're leaning on past data. I'm leaning on what you said before, which is actually incredibly interesting. A big job is essentially just a bunch of small jobs put together. But a really big job is a bunch of small jobs put together a lot slower than you would do a small job. So it's like you might smash this roughing out. You're not going to smash anything out when you're walking up 6 stories of flights of stairs holding cable because there's no lift, there's no access, there's no something. So it's actually, the realm of being wrong at 10 hours, if you're 10% out, is quite low. Like it's not low. It's like, it's quite a low impact. It doesn't really matter. If the realm of being out at 10,000 hours is 10% out, that's 100 hours, it's like $12,000. So you're going to notice that at that point. So I think you just got to like pull yourself back and be like, yes, can I handle the job? What is my capacity? What is my capability? Capacity is a huge one, and capacity can grow, but because you can get subcontractors or hire more staff members or whatever, doesn't mean they're going to be good, but your capacity can still grow. And this is why more hours or off the tools doesn't essentially mean more money, because if you were cooked at 10 hours, you're going to be incredibly cooked at 1,000 hours. If you're cooked at 100 hours a week, you're going to be cooked at 500 hours a week. So the goal is to level yourself out and work out, well, where are you good at and where aren't you good at? what's in your realm of comfort zone, what's outside your realm of comfort zone. Nothing will cost you more money to saying yes to things that you don't know the answer to or you have no idea. So if you're not an expert in floor heating and the client calls, and this is my story. I remember the client called me, good client, and he's like, oh, something's wrong with my floor heating. And I sat there for sat there for 3 hours poking the floor heating with a screwdriver, the controller, going like, like, work, please, for the love of God. Legit no idea what I'm doing at that point, right? And then I was like, you know what? I can't charge for that. I should have just said, what is it? Floor heating, cool, call, bang. This is the luxury of living in a city at this point and having good access to good subtrades, right? So we had this guy, shout out to Alfred, did all that floor heating. And I'd be like, hey, sweet, cool, let's get Alpha in there, bang, he's in it. He'll solve that issue, and that's a good result for the client. So I've just saved myself 3 hours of non-billable time, saved myself looking like a complete chicken with his head cut off, and I've got a great result for the client. And if you just keep making, if your business can remain profitable, well, like your goal is to be profitable, obviously, while you keep getting good results for clients, holding on to staff members and looking after your own time, that's a win. That's an absolute win. So my question is, I guess the inherent question is, one bad decision can cost you a lot. That doesn't have to be a job like we talked about today. That could be a staff member. Mm-hmm. That can be an admin hire. Just recently, we've had a few members change admins, and they're like, it's just chalk and cheese. This old admin might as well have been a potato. This new admin is an absolute sent from the trade gods, blessed by the electrical gods, and then blessed by the Simpro gods, service mate gods, whatever. But hiring, yeah, I mean, bad decisions. How do you iron that out?
Learn from your mistakes first and foremost. So there's obviously, but understanding it. So I think I encourage everyone. The curiosity needs to be there of like, what occurred, how did it perform? So if you're not measuring every job that you're doing or back costing it or understanding how it's performing as it's moving along and going, that you're going to continue to struggle to make consistently good decisions, because good decisions are formed off being informed. So you're getting educated data, feedback to be able to inherently make better decisions. Now, it's understanding that, okay, my goal here is to make every decision a good decision. What has history told me, or where can I get help to get some education on that? And so, like, if you're not sure on something, like, reach out and ask. Like, ask someone who, give Crowe and myself, of course, like, what do you think of this? And it's like, okay, we can then basically cross-reference again, what have you done in the past? What do you feel comfortable with? What's the value of this job? What's it entail? What's the scope of it all? Does it fit within the wheelhouse that you're looking? And you do need to move the needle, but it's understanding that there's going to be a controlled moving of the needle to get the outcome that you're looking for. Now, I probably want to reference here also is that understanding and measuring the job side of it all gives you the ability in real time to make better decisions. So if you know it, if you've measured the rough-in stage of a particular job or the initial stage of the job, you can make informed decisions along the way, and you're able to get a gauge on material, how your staff are going, how the job's actually running and things like that. And I'm going to say that there is a point I want to hear your thought on this, because I think ultimately I sit in the field of that you need to take responsibility for all the decisions that you've made. It doesn't mean that you're always 100% to blame for the outcome to look at, but ultimately you're 100% responsible for the decision. And what I mean on here is that you could have the right type of work, the information background on a costing side of it. You may have the right staff that are associated with it, but it may be executed in a way which has an element of that beyond your control. And what I mean by this is that the other sub-trades involved, the client that potentially involved, can have an influence on the organizational and the flow on the job. And this is where I probably want to reference that this where it can come to, I guess, a head often when it's someone you haven't worked with in the past or someone who's come on you because you don't know the way they do things. And now it's not to say that you're 100% blame or they're 100% to blame. It's understanding it. So you may have someone who operates in a different way to the way that you would normally do that job, and you have no prior knowledge or history around that. So then obviously you're pricing on a best case scenario or your traditional type of client base, and it doesn't measure up in that sense. And I think it's important to recognize that. So when the next opportunity comes up with that person, it's that, okay, we need to change the way that we price this, or we need to step away from this opportunity, and it's a no in that sense. And I think it's incredibly hard to make because it could tick every box bar the box that actually counts and like, is it actually profitable work? And that needs to be the most important box to tick, because it could be like, oh, hey, it's exactly the type of work that we love to do. It's what we want to put on our social media. It's what our staff want to work on. It's got volume associated with it. It ticks every box, but it's a nightmare to work on. Like it's draining, it's absorbing. I think you need to recognize that and understand it, because then that allows you to make better decisions. And I want to encourage everyone here that that's where the back costing comes into it, because the back costing doesn't lie. So when you measure the job, we've all had that gut feel. It's like, oh, I don't think we did too well on that job because we've gone over by 100 hours, so to speak. Let's just use that as a number. So let's measure it and see how we did actually perform. So that then it gives you a decision to make informed, educated decisions next time.
It's so much to unpack, because I feel like in doing something simple like making a decision, there's so much. The more data you have, the better decisions you're going to make, right? Like so get this. Imagine, and this is why revenue is such a cooked standalone metric. It means nothing. Let's just say I'm an absolute God-fearing weapon on the tools, right? People walk past like, who is that guy, right? Let's just say that. Which is I know someone's listening going like, that's me. That's what I'm doing. That's probably what we all are. So let's say I'm an absolute weapon. I'm quoting, I'm winning. I've got a whole bunch of clients. I'm growing the team. I got 3 or 4 staff members, right? So I'm doing 12 hours a day. So I'm doing 12 hours a day on the tools. I'm smashing it out. So I'm doing 60 hours of work from Monday to Friday, because I have no kids, right? Anyone with no kids is like, he's the time. And then I'm doing paperwork on Saturday and working Sunday night, and I'm handling like all my admin outside of hours. I'm incredibly motivated, and I'm seeing good to great results. So I'm closing the month with really solid revenue, and I'm closing the month with really solid net profit, right? This is super interesting. What's the reference point of that revenue and reference point of that net profit? The jobs you might be doing might be working because you're able to put in an extra 20 or 30 hours on the tools. The profit might make sense, or the revenue to profit ratio might make sense because you're volunteering all your administration costs. The second you start employing people and those 12-hour weapon days come to an 8-hour pretty good day, game changing in the price difference. The second you start getting an admin on and paying their 3 days a week, and yeah, you get to now work 40, but you've just on costed a false rate for, and it wasn't that you were lying. It was just that you were misunderstood. So you're sort of able to pass it on. You're able to be profitable. This is why you see so many people on the tools, weapon, making money with a team of 3 or 4, off the tools at the pub, having a beer. Woe is me. That's the sort of linear trajectory, and that's just, you can actually just mathematically calculate that on a spreadsheet and be like, well, of course that is what happened. Like, if I can see it as clear as day. So that's actually interesting, because it's you need context for everything. So you need to know, what you're doing might be working holistically across a month or quarter, but is the job working? Pound for pound, that job, hour for hour, does it work? Is that staff member the right fit for that client? Is that staff member even the right fit for your company? Is that apprentice actually billable or progressing, or you're happy to keep them to a certain point? And I think that's where, how do you make good decisions? You work out what's working and then you do it again. and you work out what's not working, and you change what you're doing there, or you stop what you're doing there. It's not always stop. Like, just because you're unable to make a client profitable, and I love to share this analogy, just because you can't solve a Rubik's Cube doesn't mean my brother-in-law can't. I say brother-in-law because I can't solve a Rubik's Cube, but my brother-in-law can. So it's like, just because you can't do something doesn't mean someone else can't. Just because, like that's super interesting. Other people can make things work where you can't. It's cool, but it all needs to come back to a calculator. I feel like everything comes back. You can see everything on there. So yeah, I think how to make good decisions. I think you've got to work out what's working, do it again. Work out what's not working, stop doing that. You need to reference, is that job genuinely out of the realm? Like, and that's the danger of making one bad decision. Let's say I hustle for work, get a quote from the trade gods, right? Laser. Get a quote from the trade gods, spend 4 days on the quote, win the quote. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a 300 grand job. Then I go and actively pursue that. It's put me in a boat where I think I've misquoted it. I'm unable to charge variations because I'm disorganized. Now I've got to hire subcontractors to look after the clients that I've currently got. I've got the wrong people in the right jobs everywhere. I've got the right people on the wrong job because I've misquoted it. So I've got to actually have my best team at that job to roll through. I'm behind. I'm disorganized. I'm disheveled. I'm losing money here, but now I'm losing clients over here. So it's like I'm only in this decision. I'm only in this situation because I made that one bad decision. So it's like, don't underestimate the power, the progressive link tree power downstream of your one bad decision. It's this kind of like jumping into rapids and then getting swept away. It's like you're only 2 kilometers down there because you jumped in the water. You would have been better off not jumping in the water. So it's like, just because you can make a decision doesn't mean you should. And I think sometimes, like, you rush quotes, you get things out, and you just got to pull yourself back, step back for a second, go to sleep, wake up the next day, ask yourself, is this good? Am I happy with this? Is this not good? Am I not happy with this? And I think we said this in a couple of pods ago, like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You just make sure you're looked after, your business is profitable, your clients looked after, and you got a long-term relationship with them and your staff members. There's not much to it, but there's a lot going on to make it simple.
No, I think learning from anything that has gone poorly, badly, or not the way that you anticipated to turn out, using that to apply and continue to make better decisions will create the consistency around making really good decisions, which is the ultimate outcome that you're looking for. How do you get that information? I mean, in short, you got to know what's going on in every job. So that allows you to then create the decision so you're not throwing that dart at the dartboard. So see how you're performing on each job, measure every single job to allow you to make better decisions in the future. And that's pretty much it from me.
Amazing. Be blessed. See you guys soon.
Ciao.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.